Good evening, everyone. I'm Cao Yuening. It's my honor to introduce the works of our team to you. As we know, in 2020, the epidemic situation is severe all over the world, and the normalization of the epidemic situation will become a major task for the whole society. In the future, the epidemic situation in high-density cities around the world may become more frequent, causing more serious crises in all aspects. So it is vital for our city to build more resilience to fight against the epidemic. Complete supporting infrastructure can provide the resilience of the community to deal with the outbreak. However, though infrastructure facilities are complete in some places, casualties are also very heavy in the face of the epidemic. This is because resilience not only comes from architectural space, but also depends on population structure. In fact, the people in the community are the real source of community vitality. Our design goal is more than just to create a resilient physical environment, but centering on injecting new impetus into the community. Nowadays, the development of urbanization has gradually styling into the saturation stage. In the future, there will be more high-density cities. Population density will provide more petri dishes for viruses to break species boundaries and mutate rapidly. At the same time, the gravity of the aging problem is getting increasingly staggering around the globe. While the elderly are vulnerable to COVID-19 due to their weakened immune system and therefore suffer heavy casualties in the face of the epidemic.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, sorry, I just missed the connect. There are a lot of multi-story residential community in the old urban areas of big cities, which are similar to those in the picture. A lack of public facilities, low management difficulties, and weak community organization make it difficult to respond to and achieve effective management and prevention under the normalized epidemic situation. What is more worrying is that there are a large number of elderly groups living in this old community. They are either restricted by objective economic conditions or unwilling to leave the existing neighborhood and geographical relationship. If the epidemic breaks out, insufficient public facilities, weak community organization, and high risk of the elderly will bring great challenges to the epidemic prevention work in the old community. So we pay attention to building the resilience of the old community. So that's the question, how to build an old community with resilient population structure. We think that we need to solve two key problems. The first is how to attract young people to live in old communities. The second is how to make young befriend the elderly. Let's solve the first problem. Due to the change of traditional family model, a lot of young people go out to work and live alone. As they have just started to work, most of them can't rent a house with a suitable commuting distance and price, so they can only choose to live far away, increasing the impact to public health incidents after the epidemic outbreak. The old community is located near the urban area with a convenient commuting, low rent, and developed public transportation, so it is an ideal place for them to live. At the same time, we analyze the house types of the old communities and find that the space utilization rate is very low, and only 4% of the elderly's daily time is spent in guest rooms. Therefore, we plan to transform them and rent them to young people. The elderly rent the idle space to the young people to solve the high rent problem for them. In return, the young people help the elderly to make use of the new public facilities to get a more long-term and reliable life and provide the vitality of the community. We creatively realized the separation of long line in the design. First of all, we make use of the ad walkway to make the elderly and young people not interfere with each other. Then we add a small bathroom space on one side of the empty room to create an independent single room. Finally, we add elevators to make it more convenient for residents to go upstairs and downstairs. Independent room can attract young people working nearby to rent. In this way, young people can have a comfortable living space in the old community. Next, we need to solve another problem, how to make young people befriend the elderly. We introduced an app in the age mix community. They can input their personal characteristic, and then the householder and tenant match each other. Then they can even discuss some community events on the app. This function makes it easier for householder and tenants to communicate and live in the premise of maintaining social distance. In order to make the elderly and young people get enough public space, we built many modules in the atrium space between the two central houses and designed the courtyard. The two buildings on the side are mainly for the elderly, and the two buildings in the middle are for the young and son of the elderly, in order to minimize the interference of the young to the elderly. This is the scene of harmonious communication between the elderly and young people in the community. The elderly can drink tea and play chess with young people in the atrium activity space, and the young people can teach the elderly to use electronic products, such as mobile phones. They can also chat and work together on the corridor and platform. Finally, in some extreme cases, we can change the function of atrium public activity space according to the three stages of the mechanism. For example, the public activity space during daily period can be transformed into an isolation ward when the epidemic comes, and into a nurse station at a later stage of the mechanism. During the epidemic period, the entire community can quickly enter the pause mode. In daily life, free and dynamic community space can make the needs of residents for a better life. During the outbreak, functional models gradually become isolated and enclosed from the bottom up, ensuring the safety of residents. In this design, we explore a new part of all community renewal, enhancing the resilience of community organizations under the epidemic situation through adjusting the age structure of the population. In the daily mode, the age mixed community helps to enhance the vitality and quality of life of the elderly community. When the epidemic comes, young people can help elderly to make use of the new public facilities to acquire a more long-term and reliable life. That's all for our speech. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Yeah, and then it's Q&A time, and Francine, please.
Thank you very much. It's a clear presentation. I was wondering, because you make the analysis that's better that the elderly people live often more closer to the city because it was built closer to the city many years ago, and you want to mix them. I was just wondering, the floor plan you made there, it felt in that scheme that the space for the young people is very small or not? What do they have by themselves? Is that a shower and a toilet, or is it also a small kitchen, or is that happening all in the collective space, the new collective space that you are creating? Can you explain that to me better? What's exactly happening in indoor space or in the existing volume where you take one room with some space for a younger person? Or what's exactly happening in the courtyard, what you add in the courtyards?
Yes, for the problem, with the development of society and the change of the family structure, especially the serious aging problem, the proportion of middle-aged and elderly people in cities is increasing. During the limitation of physical function and economic ability, their activity radius become very small. Traditional large-scale public activity space, such as public library, central park, commercial center, become difficult to reach. The traditional social needs of the elderly will put forward new design requirements for housings. So we think that in the future, the community public space will become more important, and the private space will become compact. More public activity space and less private space mean to improve the utilization of the space. People break the barriers between each other, have more communication, and then enhance the vitality of the community. In order to make the elderly and young people get enough public space, we add many modules for public activities in the atrium space between the two central houses and design a courtyard.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Oh, and I was just wondering, because I rather have it, otherwise you continue talking. Sorry for that. What is your idea? Who will run that? Is that a housing corporation, or who will have the ownership and the leadership and the maintenance and of that extra added volumes? Is that who is that? Is it part of your philosophy? Who will do that?
First of all, the communities was lack of management before we designed this community. After we manage this, we will inquire some young men to manage this community. They will take part in the management of the community.
Yeah. And who has the ownership? Who has the ownership?
Ownership is mainly the old people, the householder.
Yeah. Oh, I was just wondering, is this part of a housing company who is running this? Is this rental housing, or is it did people buy their apartments? I didn't know what is your analysis.
Oh, this is an old community, and the people living there mostly is the old man, and the young people is living nearby. They work nearby.
No, sorry, that I do understand. I just try to understand, is this for rental housing?
Yes, it's rental housing. The old man rent the houses to the young man, and the young people will take good care of the owner.
Yeah.
Our meaning is to attract young people to live in the old community, and you will be more resilient.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions yourself?
No. Do you want to answer the advanced question? Do you want us to answer the two questions we have?
Yes, that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. So now I answer the first question. Shall I?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first question is, do you believe that the future of housing should be characterized by more collective space and less private space? And for the first problem, with the development of society and the change of family structure, especially the serious aging problem, the proportion of middle-aged and elderly people in cities is increasing. Due to the limitation of physical function and economic ability, their activity radius become very small. So the traditional large-scale public activity space, such as the public library, Central Park, commercial center, become difficult for them to reach. So the traditional social needs of the elderly will put forward new design requirements for housing. So we think that in the future, the community public space will become more important and the private space become compact. More public activity space and less private space means to...
Sorry, the time of the Q&A is end.
Okay.
Yes, sorry again, and thank you